The US is probably going to hit its inflation target rather soon. We are very far away from that. 21 will probably see inflation at 1.5, and that is largely temporary and technical. It will go down again, we think. And our goal is close to 2% and below 2%. So we're very far away from that. And what we tried to do with our forward guidance is indicate that we will continue net asset purchases until very close to the time when we will actually look at rising policy rates, which will have an impact on interest rates. So tapering is really not in the same terms, should not be discussed in the same terms as in the United States. We may well reduce the pandemic emergency program when the time comes, when we see the crisis coming to an end. Yes, but that's the emergency program. We also have a standing program of asset purchases. And as I said, net asset purchases will continue until we start looking at rising policy rates.
When do you expect Europe to reach herd immunity? I know you're not a virologist, but it's obviously a critical economic question.
I would not, make any pronouncement on herd immunity because doctors, scientists are arguing about that. What I can tell you is that there is a very strong determination to reach 70% of vaccination before the end of the summer. And for some countries, it will move faster. I know that there is a commitment to have a very sizable part of the population in France vaccinated before Bastille Day, which is 14th of July. We'll see about that. But certainly before the end of the summer, 70% of the population vaccinated is something that seems to be very much within reach because now vaccination rollout is picking up, is getting speedier and more efficient than it was in the last few weeks, which I think that the Europeans are now really dealing with and addressing with determination. I think we have to keep up and press on to make sure that injections are taking place fast.
What about stimulus injections? Obviously, the U.S. just passed a $2 trillion bazooka, and there's another $2 trillion package potentially on the table. Europe has the Euro Joint Recovery Fund, hasn't been signed off on, and is about half as big. Is that frustrating to you?
Well, if you put together the whole package that was agreed by the Europeans, which is this special fund, plus the multi-annual budget, you get to about $2.2 trillion. That's roughly the ballpark figure that we have. When I say the Europeans, we have to keep up and press on, that's what I mean. It has been agreed, it has been voted by the European Parliament. All 27 member states have to ratify. I know that 16 of them have done so. They still have a few weeks to make sure that funds are actually disbursed in the second half of 21. That's what we're counting on in terms of our projections. So, yeah, pressing on is in order now.
But is it adequate enough, the size and the scope, given the trillions of dollars we've seen from the U.S. and given some of the economic hurdles that you have in front of you? It would certainly make your life easier, wouldn't it, if they could go bigger on fiscal action?
Well, it was great that during this crisis, fiscal and monetary acted hand in hand, and this has to continue. It's difficult to compare because we're comparing orange and apples here. Europe has much higher automatic stabilizers than the US. The recovery plan and the resilience plan here is really targeted at quality measures and making sure that there is transition towards digital, green, productivity enhancing measures, whereas the US plan is demand driven, at least the first big chunk of it. The second one will be of a different nature, I'm sure, when it is voted. But I think it's difficult to actually compare because you also have national measures that are taken and that provide fiscal stimulus as well. So you need to package everything at the European level and possibly compare it. But I'm not even sure that this is actually appropriate because they are clearly tailored in a different way. Europe wants to really beef up its games, be more digital, more green, more effective. And for the moment, as I understand the US voted part of the plan, it's demand-driven, it's improving the vaccination process with great efficiency. And, this is very good news for the world as well.
European stocks have risen to pre-pandemic highs. They're at a record. European bonds have rallied. even weaker balance sheet bonds. The euro has rallied against the dollar strongly over the last year. Do you see the markets broadly or parts of the markets out of sync with the economic fundamentals, the reality on the ground?
Well, we monitor that very carefully. As you know, we don't target any particular exchange rate. For instance, we are very attentive to the impact that it has on inflation, obviously. But we need to make sure that from a macroprudential point of view and from a microprudential point of view, the banks are properly equipped, the regulatory authorities are properly equipped to deal with what would be unwarranted movements. But we don't see that at the moment.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.